Hey, meanwhile, more than 100 House Democrats voting against providing U.S. aid to Israel. Stunning. It's a shift from 2 years ago when 37 voted this way.
How dare they? How dare they? Yeah, this is impactful. It is a real sea change. Before we get to that, though, New York Times, will oil prices soar as the U.S.-Iran truce phrase? The answer lies with China. Mark Ames summarized, says, our China experts can't tell us how or why China slashed oil imports by 1/3 during the war, nor did they predict it. And yet these China experts do claim to know what goes on in Xi's head. And he's planning to invade Taiwan in 2027/name your date. Yeah, there were some articles that actually identified this. China's next move may decide whether oil prices soar. For decades, OPEC influenced the market by how much oil it produced, but China, the largest importer, is demonstrating its remarkable power over prices. Guess what? China is fucking bailing out America again. Okay? Just as they did in 2008. This gives them tremendous leverage over America, by the way, because they can just turn up the faucet one more time and crater the Asian energy markets and crater the global energy markets. Financial Times reported on this a while back, and a lot of people were frustrated by this reporting. Financial Times, I believe, reported on it by saying China actually immediately slashed its imports and dug deep into their strategic reserves in an effort to make sure that other countries in the Asian markets could get the oil in their stead, and therefore the price of a barrel would not skyrocket to an alarming degree and basically collapse the Asian markets, the Asian economy. Now, part of that is self-interested. Part of that is because obviously China does trade with all these other countries, right? So if they were to collapse the Japanese economy, that would not be good for China. If they were to collapse the other economies in the region, that would just not be good for China at all, right? China wants to maintain stability. So even though America, on the one hand, is fomenting instability, China is allowing stability to continue because they understand that this is how you trade, Max. However, this also gives China tremendous leverage. They could turn around and increase their imports once again. And if that were to happen, then the price of Brent crude would go up quite a bit, a lot more than it already has. But if you're wondering why the oil shock has not taken place, China plays a big role in that. Part of the reason why they can do this is obviously because of their energy grid and how much they've moved towards renewables. Part of that is because they, ahead of time, after the first 12-day war, immediately increased their strategic petroleum reserves, knowing full well that this was probably going to happen again. Once again, Chinese foresight. But let's take a look at how the New York Times is reporting on it. The passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz has been slowed significantly by the persistent cycle of hostility between the United States and Iran. But whether prices of the gas pump rise or fall will depend not only on how much oil flows out of the Persian Gulf, but also on decisions made by China. Typically, the world's largest oil importer, China, slashed purchases this spring, reducing demand so much that it prevented oil prices from soaring even higher earlier in the war. You want to know the cope, by the way? The cope was, of course they fucking slashed their imports, because the Strait of Hormuz was blocked, so they couldn't continue keeping up with their pre-existing demand. That's what they said. Like, as though China does not have the purchasing power of, numerous fucking nations and entire markets if they chose to continue getting oil that was readily available. They made it seem like China slashed this out of necessity because they just simply couldn't get oil. Why would China do this? I already explained it. Stability. Trade maxing. And partially because they can. Now, one of the biggest questions facing the market is, when will China start buying more oil again? The longer the country holds back, the lower oil prices are likely to go. The reverse is also true. A pickup in demand from China would raise prices, all else being equal. Where Chinese demand goes is really the most important piece of the puzzle, said Karen Young, a senior research scholar at the Columbia University Center on Global Energy Policy. Another significant factor is the Russia-Ukraine war. Wholesale diesel prices soared last week after Russia, one of the world's biggest exporters, banned overseas diesel sales to preserve supplies at home. Ukrainian drone attacks have severely damaged Russian oil refineries, limiting the country's ability to turn oil into transportation fuel. Wholesale fuel prices generally foreshadow changes in consumer prices at gas stations, where diesel averaged $4.88 a gallon on Monday, up 2.5% from a week earlier, according to the AAA Motor Club. There have been signs that China's oil imports might soon pick up. The International Energy Agency recently cited procurement efforts and one-off tanker deliveries as hints of renewed Chinese buying interest. It remains a mystery to most of the market how China has managed to slash imports by almost a third compared with a year earlier, according to the May customs data released by Beijing. China is widely thought to have the world's largest stockpile of oil, but it does not appear to have pulled much from the above-ground stores that analysts can monitor via satellite. And while its refineries have been processing less oil than usual during the war, and the country banned oil product exports early on, that doesn't fully explain the huge drop in imports either. The country has other levers to pull, including vast coal resources that it can use instead of oil products to make chemicals. At the same time, China gets a large share of its electricity from renewable energy. Oh my God. Not having reliance on fossil fuels can be a real lifesaver, it seems. That's it. That's the answer, by the way. That is it. Their grid has increasingly relied on renewable energies. They have the infrastructure for it. They built it in the last decade. It's this explosive growth in green energy is what is allowing the Chinese government to basically move away from oil, at least for the interim. Of course, the dullards over in the United States of America don't like that and refuse to reckon with that, or rather the vassals over in the European side are not moving in that direction out of fears that America might get mad at them, or they're not moving fast enough. Because this would mean moving into the realm of renewables would mean a reliance on Chinese-made components and less of a reliance on the petrodollar. So the vassal states are going to continue being vassals until morale improves. Anyway, its extensive high-speed rail network, the biggest in the world, also dampens demand for oil. This year is likely to be the first time China's oil consumption will drop significantly since the oil crises of the 1970s and early 1980s, the IEA said. Regardless of how quickly demand recovers in China, a country's vast stockpile of oil gives it a significant cushion. Many believe China can continue to hold off increasing imports for some time. They're not under any immediate pressure at all, said Ben Cahill, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, a Washington-based think tank. China's ability to manage the market by ramping oil purchases up or down has been one of the biggest surprises of the war, analysts said. That power over the global markets is particularly notable since the country imports most of its oil. For decades, producers traditionally held the cards on oil prices. Time and time again, members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, the oil cartel, have leveraged their significant market share to send prices soaring, as happened in the 1970s, or to allow them to plunge, as they did in 2014. But OPEC's influence has been eroded in recent years, first by the rapid growth of U.S. oil production, and this spring by the departure of one of the cartel's biggest members, United Arab Emirates. China effectively operates more market power than any nation on earth, including Saudi Arabia and the United States, said Gregory Brew, an analyst at the Eurasia Group, a research firm. Of course, the intensity of the conflict in the Persian Gulf and the extent to which it scares off ship owners remains critically important for energy markets. On Monday, President Trump said he was reimposing a naval blockade on Iran's ports, a move designed to stop much of the country's oil from flowing into the global market. He also made clear that the United States does not plan to cede control over the strait to Iran. The USA will be, from this point forward, known as the guardian of the Hormuz Strait. We already know. He said he was going to do 20%. He then went back on it and said, never mind, we're not doing 20%. The ability to charge ship owners for safe passage through the strait has been a major issue of contention throughout the war, and it was not clear what authority the United States would have to assess such charges. It's just a we said it, so it's going to happen type situation. Let's be real. Since early May, the U.S. military has helped ships sail through the strait on routes close to Oman. Hundreds of millions of barrels of crude have been moved under that effort as of late June, according to U.S. Central Command. That has been effective until now. It may remain effective, said Richard Goldberg, a former senior counsel to Mr. Trump's National Energy Dominance Council. We're at a moment of truth in how this will play out. It's not effective, and it has been rendered ineffective through drone strikes on commercial ships. So it's not effective at all because, and you can tell that it's not effective because no ships are fucking transiting through the Strait of Hormuz to the Omani coastline right now because the Iranians keep fucking peppering them with goddamn drones. So clearly, it's not fucking effective. For now, between the energy still flowing from the Persian Gulf, rising production in other countries, and lower demand from countries like China, the world generally has the oil it needs. That is reflected in prices, which are hovering about 7% above pre-war levels. But cars and trucks run on gasoline and diesel, not crude oil. And between damaged infrastructure in the Gulf and in Russia, refiners are processing much less oil than usual. That partly explains why filling up remains more expensive than it was before the war. Like I said, though, this is also... Dude, what about the dark passages? Come on, bro. Yeah, it's just fucking copium. I mean, it exists. It exists, right? It's always existed, and it will continue to exist. But there's a difference between like a couple ships that throw off their a couple ships that are able to evade Iranian rocket fire by turning off their transponders and like transiting versus like 20% of the entire world's energy needs is you're not going to be able to make up for it. If China was still importing oil at the regular levels, the entire world's energy markets would have collapsed at this point. Okay. It would have been great for, American oil and energy, oil and gas giants, of course, but it would not be so great for the regular consumer. China is maintaining price stability. I love that the New York Times reported on this. A lot of people were mad when the Financial Times reported on this like a couple months ago. But it's really funny that the New York Times reported on it and then said, China is stabilizing the global energy markets, and that's the reason why the price of the pump is not as high as it's supposed to be, but at what cost? Like, they literally did that. They did. China, as a foreign adversary, has decided to once again bail out America as it's fomenting instability around the world in global energy markets, but at what cost? Incredible work from the New York Times. Thank you. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm always thinking, oh man, at what cost are they maintaining stability? Anyway, speaking of fucking instability, I forgot to mention this, but John Ossoff obviously had some more words on the Trump speech that's going to come out tonight, where Donald Trump is going to talk about how the Georgia elections, special elections were bullshit, how 2020 was stolen, and how China did this. Here's what John Ossoff had to say after his grilling in the appointment
meeting.
What's
going to happen tonight. The world's most famous sore loser will deliver a primetime presidential sour grapes address to pursue his 6-year-old grievances about the 2020 election, while his war in the Middle East spirals out of control and the cost of living continues to rise for Americans across the country. I expect the president to reheat debunked conspiracy theories about the repeatedly litigated and audited and confirmed 2020 presidential election in Georgia, an election that Donald Trump lost. And let me be very clear about this. If the president declares Georgia's elections illegitimate, or if the president declares Georgia's sitting United States senators illegitimate, he is declaring Georgia voters illegitimate. It's Donald Trump who tried to defraud Georgia voters in that election. Donald Trump who tried to commit election fraud when he called Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and it was caught on tape, and you should play the tape for your viewers today, and badgered and bullied Georgia's top election official to, quote, find him the votes that he needed to win in a state where he had lost.
Are they doing this as a way to say he's already in his third term, so term limits are already out the window? I mean, who knows? They're they do have a child brain, so that's a childlike attitude to have, so I wouldn't put it past them. But no, I think the reason why they're doing this is because they want to engage in some kind of engaging in some kind of hurdles in the upcoming midterms. They want to say like, oh, in order to maintain election integrity, we have to put ICE agents at every polling station that will see if you're an actual American citizen. They'll have guns. Maybe they'll kill you if you look communist. Who knows? You know? I think it's more so about the midterms that are coming up, because something that these guys have very openly mentioned over and over again is if the Democrats win in the midterms, if they win Congress, we're all going to jail. That's what they keep repeatedly saying. Now, I don't think the Democrats, the National Democratic Party, has it in them. Okay? I don't think that they're going to be able to do that. I wish they would do that. But that is the real fear on the Republican side. They think it is going to be a bloodbath. They think that it will be a massive blue wave. And then in the aftermath of that, the Democrats will regain the popular mandate to punish the administration for the litany of crimes that it has committed in broad daylight, all the way from petty corruption down to, assassinations of migrants and American citizens with an unaccountable force such as ICE, all the way to illegal war crimes overseas and waging war and ruining the global energy markets, not dealing with the inflation crisis. They'll punish them politically for that. There are so many different ways that the Democrats, there's so many things that Democrats can work on if they actually get power back. So yeah, and I think they should. So we shall see. I mean, look, Zoran Kwame Mamdani became the mayor of New York. And you might think, oh, elections don't fucking matter. Well, let's take a look at what he's doing, right? Here's more evidence that elections can matter. Zoran Mamdani and his administration are taking new actions to crack down on landlords and help tenants. The New York City mayor just announced steps including requiring landlords to disclose when listings have been altered by AI, legal recognition of tenant unions to expand tenants' ability to organize, stronger enforcement against negligent landlords whose buildings have conditions like mold and pests, and more. These steps come out of the rental ripoff hearings held in the 5 boroughs where the mayor's office heard from thousands of tenants. Today's announcement is entitled to the Rental Ripoff Report, and it contains a total of 23 policy actions the Mamdani administration will now pursue based on what they heard from tenants. So elections do matter. They do. They matter quite a bit. Because if they didn't matter, these people in positions of power would not work to undermine and subvert the democratic process as aggressively as possible. Democratic strategist Liz Smith worked for former Michigan Democratic Senate candidate Mallory McMorrow. She tells Dana Bash she's concerned Democrats are left now with an imperfect choice in the primary between Abdul El-Sayed and Haley Stevens. Now, you might be asking yourself, why the fuck is Liz Smith on CNN? Why does she get to do analysis when she loses all the time? Which would be a great question. It's because she's in agreement with Dana Bash's worldview. Who is she? Liz Smith is a former Pete Buttigieg advisor to the failed Mallory McMorrow run. Liz Smith might have been the consultant that cooked up the most devastating move for her client, Mallory McMorrow. Liz Smith is probably the genius behind the Abdul El-Sayed is hanging out with Hasanabi Piker. He's a dangerous radical, and he should not be elected into office.
My fear fear now, though.
Oh, Andrew Cuomo as well, of course. Liz Smith, famous Andrew Cuomo victim smearer.
Is that we're sort of left now with an imperfect choice. It's an imperfect choice like we were left with in Maine, between sort of a stale establishment candidate, someone who is not really offering anything new, saying sort of a defender of the status quo, and someone on the left who's offering, very toxic and oftentimes dangerous positions, things that people don't embrace, like defund the police. And I really do think for Democrats to succeed going forward, there's got to be a third path. A Democratic Party that can call out corruption in Washington and offer up big ideas that get to the main problems people are facing. Build more housing and make it cheaper. Give people a healthcare option without throwing out the healthcare plans they like. Let's finally get a sane immigration policy on the books. And until we start offering up those ideas and stop just reflexively being anti-Trump, I think that it's going to be hard to bring more people into our party. My fear now, though,
yes, I know Liz Smith ran Mayor Pete's campaign in 2020. Third way, third path. These guys aren't subtle anymore. Yeah. Dangerous ideas like everybody gets health care. Look at this unbiased survey from Pennsylvania Opinion Survey. If Democrats succeed in electing extreme socialists and win the majority this November, they will implement policies like eliminating private property to provide universal housing, eliminating mandatory criminal minimum sentences, defunding the police, free healthcare for illegal immigrants, allowing illegal immigrants to vote, open borders, and replacing America's free market system with oppressive government control. Beast mode. All right. Let's get to House Democrats voting against Israel. How dare they? I'm Brian Kilmeade.
I'm Brian Kilmeade. Hey, meanwhile, more than 100 House Democrats voting against providing U.S. aid to Israel. Stunning. It's a shift from 2 years ago when 37 voted this way, and 10 years ago when none of them voted against Israeli aid. And now AOC is warning the rest of her party to get in line.
The majority of Democrats now have shifted where we are on this issue with respect to Israel, that the U.S. cannot continue to finance a reckless government that has no regard for human rights. I would certainly hope that anyone running for president in 2 years would not be stuck 10 years in the past.
She doesn't know what she's talking about, and she's never
cooked. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Shut up. Everybody loves Israel. In my country club I go to, everybody loves Israel. Stop hurting Israel's feelings. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I'm Brian Kill myself.
Israel comes to me in my dreams.
Never been to that region, but she's right about this. Even Nancy Pelosi, former.
Yeah, this is like Nancy Pelosi is caving to the trend. Yeah, it's called, responding to the overwhelming majority's perspective on an issue.
One of the most pro-Israeli Democrats in Congress now flipping to vote against the funding bill. And our next guest warns this is only the beginning as Jewish Democrats discover their loyalty to the party is not being returned. Fox News contributor Bill McGurn joins us now. Bill, are you shocked over 100 Democrats, and not including Hakeem Jeffries, because he voted to fund Israel aid, would vote against Israel?
No, it's not a shock. This is the direction the Democratic Party today has taken in America.
I love that. Yeah. Let's go to our guest, vampire who hasn't seen the sun in 700 years. Bill McGurn, everybody. All right, let me tell you something about these guys. They're talking shit about the beautiful nation state of Israel, which I love. They're constantly sending me a steady supply of blood that I need to survive. Why is nobody thinking about my needs? Well, guess what? Israel is.
20 years ago would be a shock. I grew up in this area, so to see like the New York contingent especially be overtaken by anti-Israeli voices.
You always go after the skin color of white people. Bitch, I'm white. Shut up. Stop crying.
I just would not have thought it imaginable. It's interesting. Look, you showed AOC speaking instead of Chuck Schumer because she better represents where the Democratic Party is going, not Chuck Schumer.
Bernie Sanders gets up every day wanting to defund Israel. Right. He's a Jewish guy from Brooklyn. And Chuck Schumer wrote a book about anti-Semitism. He doesn't want to take ownership of that. He's too scared to come out on something like this and stand up to his own party.
Yeah, and it's been a while for him because, you know, he likes to say that his last name comes from Shomer, which means protector, and he considers himself the protector of Israel. But, you know, when Obama made that very bad deal with Iran on the nukes, he and...
By the way, guys, forgive me if I'm being a little insensitive here with what I'm about to say, but I don't think Bill McGurn, not that this changes the dynamic that much, but I don't think Bill McGurn is Jewish. Okay? So where is this like he doesn't have the social conditioning, right? He doesn't have like the Zionist social conditioning. I mean, he has a Mick in his last name. It's the most goyim last name you can have. If you have a Mick in your last name, you're, probably not Jewish. So what's really interesting to me about guys like this is like, where did you develop this unique boomer philosemitism where he's down to the wire? He's like talking about how like Chuck Schumer's last name is a defender. He claims he's a defender of Israel, but he's insufficiently in defense of Israel. I, on the other hand, Bill McGurn, know a lot more about Judaism, Jewish culture, and how much that's important to the nation state of Israel. It's like, what the fuck is happening? This is the American news media version of those guys that go to the Jewish National Foundation and be like, and say shit like, as a goyim, I don't really know much, but what I do know is I love Israel. Those fucking strange seminars that take place where I just don't understand why these people are saying things like this. That's what the American version of that is. This is what it is.
In the end voted against it, but only when they had the votes to where it didn't matter. If he really was a leader and a protector, he'd be leading the efforts. But the people like Chuck Schumer that are moderates or moderates on Israel, right, the party doesn't like them anymore. The party is firmly in the hate Israel camp, comparisons to Nazi Germany and the like.
So, Bill, maybe they'd be...
He's drunk? Yeah, he's drunk off of all of the baby blood that he consumed because he's a vampire.
Be happier if...
Yeah, by the way, sea change moment, okay? Pat Ryan literally, I think, voted to censure Rashida Tlaib. Pat Ryan has been hugged by the likes of AOC and numerous other progressive Congress persons, which I was very confused by. And now that same Pat Ryan, only a couple years later, is not only voting to block sending $3.3 billion of our taxpayer dollars in Netanyahu's government is wrong on every level. I expect groups like AIPAC will not support me in future elections, and frankly, I don't want their support. Hardline stances that refuse to stand up to a corrupt and increasingly dangerous Netanyahu regime have no place in our politics. And then AIPAC Tracker says, thank you, Rep. Brian. Now, will you dump AIPAC? He says, yes, I don't want their endorsement and returning their funds. I don't even know what the fuck is going on at this point, because guys like this confuse me. Because how can you go from being like Rashida Tlaib needs to be censured to I'm returning AIPAC donations? That's a huge fucking deal. Okay, this is a political earthquake. Pat Ryan has been one of the most pro-Israel Democrats in Congress and has held down a swing seat with support from AIPAC and DMFI. Now, after years of protests against them, he's decided to reject AIPAC and vote to block aid to Israel. Now, let me tell you something. If guys like Pat Ryan, who are AIPAC Democrats, turn into J Street Democrats, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not enough. But you have to look at the seismic shift that is taking place inside of Congress. And let's be real, that seismic shift would not be fucking happening if Daria Liza, if Claire, if Adam Hamawi, and Chris Rabb, and Melak Kiros, and numerous others were not elected into congressional office in the primaries that just took place. Okay? That's it. That's it. This would not be happening. The numbers would not have gone from 0 in 2016 to 37 only a couple of years ago to 108. Okay? That's what I mean when I say these, or 103, sorry. April 2024, it was 37 House Democrats. July 2026 is 103 House Democrats. Now listen, if this was an actual vote of impact, I'm willing to bet that those numbers would be far lower. I know that. I know that. I understand that. Okay? I want you to understand that I understand that. So before you come to me and you say, oh, dude, these guys fucking, they're doing it because they're reading the room. This is insincere because they know this vote is going to pass regardless. I know. But the very fact that even as a symbolic fuck you to Israel, that 103 Democrats in the House are now voting on a amendment, on a provision that doesn't just stop aid for weapons to Israel, but literally stops economic aid to Israel. That is a seismic shift. That means that the National Democratic Party is officially starting to take a stance on this. Okay? There is never a time in my life for the last 13 years of me being a professional political commentator on the internet, there has never been a moment where I ever thought I would see this. Okay? Symbolic or not, there's a reason why it was 0 before. There is a reason why it was 0, which means that AOC was voting present. Okay? Do you understand? There's a reason. Well, it's 2016 anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's not AOC, sorry. People that came before. At most. Like the most radical these are House Democrats, Bernie's not there, but the most radical anti-Israel Democrats, the most radical, most critical anti-Israel Democrats in 2016 that were in the House of Representatives were still either at most voting present or not voting against aid to Israel at all. Okay? Your dumbest op is losing it because he can't get a job now. Michael Rappaport and struggles as a Jewish actor in Hollywood. I have lost roles or not gotten roles for things I have felt I was right for, qualified for, because they've said you don't seem Jewish enough. In Hollywood, the presentation is dark hair, bent over, big nose, and keeling. People don't think 6'3" blonde-haired Jews exist.
I never.
Dude, this has been really funny. The complaints about like Hollywood is actually very anti-Semitic is perhaps one of the funniest. Anyway, let's get back to this story, though. This is huge. This is impactful, and we got to keep talking about it.
So, Bill, maybe they'd be happier if Israel just let Hezbollah clear out the northern part of their country and continue to send rockets there. Maybe they'd be thrilled if they didn't respond after October 7th and allowed Hamas to put endless rockets into their country. That would have been the Israel that they liked. They would acquiesce to their enemies and ultimately give up their land. I don't get what they want. But here's something else to be important. It's not just on the left. It's on the right. And I'm seeing it a lot from our current vice president. Listen to him yesterday when they spent 3 hours with Joe Rogan on Israel. Listen.
Beyond a shadow of
I like that. Wait, so what's going on? Are they shitting on JD Vance too now? This is where the boys get separated from the men, okay? Like, this is where when you start calling the Republican vice president on Fox News a fucking terror apologist, this is where you really get to see who is or to what level these people offer fealty and loyalty to the nation state of Israel. Okay? Because that's crazy. That, like, saying that about the Republican vice president, oh my Lord. I mean, let him fight. Oof. Incredible moment.
a doubt that there have been people within the Israeli government who are trying to, like, actually shift us away from that policy because they want to continue the military campaign. There are some people within their system we know beyond a shadow of a doubt who are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war going on indefinitely. Again, not towards any objective, but just indefinitely.
So what do you think? What do you think the president thinks about that? And do you think,
dude, what the fuck? They're trying to, they're trying to get the president to get mad at JD. It's probably going to work, by the way. Love this moment, the vice grifter. Yeah. I can see Trump hating on JD for shitting on him so aggressively on this Joe Rogan. On this perhaps pivotal Joe Rogan appearance. I know it sounds stupid, but
he's right?
No, I don't think he's right. I agree that if you want an end to it.
Meanwhile, in Malaysia announced that any Israeli national found in their country will be deported immediately. Ian Miles Chung.
I think the end is a victory, not another hollow victory where Iran reconstitutes itself as a major threat in the Middle East. So I'm not
okay, this guy got drunker in the first 4 minutes of this appearance. How is that possible?
sure what purpose the vice president's serving by attacking Israel or something. Also, it makes sense. If you were Israel, wouldn't you like it? Your primary enemy is at war with the U.S. You might be rooting for it to go on until it's concluded, but that's just a matter of interest. I don't think he expressed it well. I think to single out Israel, I think it gets your priorities wrong. And look, say this about Democrats and Republicans. I think there's one Republican that voted against Israel, and that's Tom Massey. And Democrats have nearly half the party. There's
the liberal Groyper pissed off the bootlicker fascists.
There's anti-Semitic voices in the Republican Party, but not like the Democrats. Half the House. Half their House members. So I think it's a big difference. Ari Fleischer, my former colleague in the Bush administration, last year put it this way. He said, American Republicans have a cold with anti-Semitism. Democrats have a fever. And I think it's getting very severe. And if Chuck Schumer really the guardian he fancies himself, he should speak up and denounce the drift of his party.
You won't. He didn't speak up when they were the anti-Semitic rants over at Columbia.
Right.
He's not going to speak up now, Bill. And I will say, too, that Israel is not attacking Iran because they want war. Iran is arming the proxies on either side of their country and has rockets heading into their country. That's why they want to get rid of Iran's arsenal, because they're using it against them. Bill, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
If Iran were peaceful, there'd be no protests.
Thank you.
Nothing from Israel.
Yeah, Israel actually did a first strike on Iran through perfidy twice now because they're super peaceful, and Iran is actually the party that's not peaceful. That makes a lot of sense. Will Kane, the DSA wants total, radical, and fundamental change. By the way, at this point, if you ever miss out on like a DSA roll call, you know, any sort of convention, any sort of like Zoom call that they're putting out there, you can just tune into Fox News the next day because they'll summarize it for you. It's pretty awesome. I know that like they're probably doing this because they want to portray the Democratic Party as radicals. Look at these radicals in the DSA. But I think that there is going to be an unintentional positive feedback loop that they create while they're trying to negatively polarize people against the DSA. I don't know. I've been literally missing meetings because of editing. This is now how I found out what's going on. I'm not joking. Yeah.
Socialism takes root now in the Democrat Party. Are voters taking to socialism? We may not have an answer yet, but we are getting a pretty clear.
Well, I don't know. Maybe putting this image side by side is probably part of the reason why young people are taking to socialism, because this is the only thing that our productive output moves in the direction of.
A picture of what democratic socialists have in mind for America. Total, fundamental, radical change to pretty much every area of government. The DSA underscoring that plan for upheaval in a new platform just released. Let's walk through it together. We have it up on the wall. It's no less radical than starting with replacing the president and the Supreme Court of the United States. But we're just now getting started, because the DSA would also abolish the United States Senate, expand the House of Representatives, and move to ranked choice voting, the likes of which you see in California.
California? Huh? I'm sorry, what? Bitch, we don't got ranked choice voting? I think he meant New York, and he fucked it up. I think he meant New York, and he said California instead. But I mean, his viewers don't know anything, so it's fine.
Still working to transform America, the DSA proposes, like many Democrats, to make Washington, D.C.
Wait, why would they want to abolish the Senate? What do you mean? It's literally an insane system where a state that is an economic powerhouse like California or even Texas, right, with a fuck ton of people, have the same number of senators as like numerous states that, like 4 other states that are combined get. California is massive. California has a lot of economic power. California gets the same number of senators as fucking Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota. Here, I'll use a word that Republicans understand is DEI for small states. The Senate is DEI for small states, oftentimes red states.
State to defund the Department of War, end ICE detention and deportation, and grant amnesty to all illegal immigrants. Now, these are the radical, transformational things proposed by the Democratic Socialist of America. Some of these we've heard already from establishment Democrats. They've opened the door, and the DSA has simply walked through the door.
Would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform, and we don't think that's extreme. We think it's a change that would help make this country more democratic.
We have criminal illegal aliens in the country. Don't they need to be removed?
We believe that demilitarizing the border, that violent oppression of working class immigrants.
Look, I love all the speakers for DSA. I have a different method of dealing with these kinds of conversations, but you know, they're still great.
Immigrants who come here is not something that most Americans want.
I just don't think that they speak Haganese. You know what I mean? They don't speak Haganese. They're too kind. Not that they're doing a bad job. They're not. They're doing a great job. They're honest. They have integrity. But you know, sometimes just like tuning the dial a little bit to be a little to speak a little Haganese is not the worst thing. You know what I mean? Like with the Senate thing, you could just immediately be like, the current way, as it stands currently, Maine has the same number of senators as the state of Texas. Do you or your viewers think that's appropriate? Boom. You know, that's a dialect and a frequency that you can tune into to get the hogs to recognize how ridiculous the system in the Senate is. Right? You want Delaware to have the same number of senators as the state of Texas, the beautiful state of Texas, which I admire. And then in the whole, like, what do you think about deportation stuff? It's just like to simply say, like, look, if someone has done a crime, documented or undocumented, if they've done a crime, if they've harmed people on U.S. soil, I think they should be punished to the full extent of the law. They shouldn't get a free ticket home. What are we doing? And that's currently the way it works regardless. And in most circumstances, it's not actually criminals that are getting this violent deportation. It's your neighbors. It's your gardener. It's the barback. It's people that are just working on U.S. soil that are waiting to fill out their paperwork, and the government's just like refusing to do it for them. Also, I remember a time when figurehead that many of your viewers will remember and admire gave mass amnesty to every migrant on U.S. soil. His name was Ronald Reagan. And it turns out Americans actually, when faced with the two choices of mass deportations and conditional amnesty to people that have been working on U.S. soil for a long and extended period of time with no criminal record whatsoever, they choose mass amnesty over mass deportation every single time. Well, and I bet many of your viewers on Fox News probably know someone that has struggled with the immigration paperwork process. It's a wonderful person, a kind person.
Democrats are left scrambling. America may be left scrambling. It's like running for class president in high school against someone that promises free ice cream for everybody, every day, at lunch. I mean, take a look. These are the types of things being said by the DSA. Imagine taking a day off from work in the future without capitalism. You work as much as you are able and no more than needed. And it's always accompanied by the friendly little fist. Deal not sweet enough for you? There's more. How about this from the DSA? You won't have any bills, no debt, no need for health insurance, no mortgage, no landlords, retirement, publicly funded. Sounds too good to be true?
Wait, why did he just, hold on. Why did he just push past? Imagine a future where you don't have to work more than needed. Like, what's your advocacy? A future where you have to work more than needed? Like, what? Like, I get that you just hate everything, right? You have to hate everything that the DSA is putting out as a part of their platform. That's such that's an objectively strange thing. You're supposed to frame it negatively. He's just revealing what the positions are and then being like, well, look at how crazy this is. Public pensions? Who? What? No, you should work till you die. Duh.
Deal not sweet enough for you? There's more. Need for health insurance, no mortgage, no landlords, retirement.
I guess if the audience is like 65-year-old pensioners, so they probably think, yeah, these goddamn teens and youths, they don't want to work no more. like I certainly did back in my day. I shook my boss's hand extra hard, slapped the secretary in the ass extra hard, and I got a promotion for that ass slap. That's right. And then I got a pension and a gold Rolex by the time I graduated, by the time I retired. It was so good. Derby derby.
Publicly funded. Sounds too good to be true? That's because, of course, you're not a sap. But for now, all of this is too much for traditional Democrats. It's too hard to compete. So you're looking at traditional establishment Democrats say, don't look here, look over here. Like former President Biden, who has a book he'd like to talk about, but not until after the midterms.
It's about the challenge we face as a nation. About the
What the fuck does Biden have to do with DSA, man? What is happening?
decisions I made.
Yeah, Biden announces new memoir, Promise Me America. Promise me, America, that you won't let Israel go. Promise me, America. Yeah, Will seen here supporting the radical idea that workers deserve more. Promise me, America, that you won't retire at a reasonable age. Promise me, America, that you won't do this democratic socialism. Promise me, America, that you'll say, "Am Israel high" every single morning like I do. Why?
Why I made them.
Xavier Baccaria. Xavier Baccaria.
Leading the country through COVID. Rebuilding our economy and restoring our democracy.
Yo, I'm going to be honest. He sounds like shit, dude. Laundry fire again. F-35, the U.S. Air Force Squawk 7700 emergency a few minutes ago landed in Al Dhafra Air Base. This happens as CENTCOM are carrying... Oh, no. Another F-35 laundry fire. No, what is happening? That's crazy. It's crazy that keeps had the toilet must have flooded on this F-35. It happens all the time, guys. You just don't understand. It is pretty wild that Biden outlived Lindsey Graham.
The attack on January 6th, ending our nation's longest war in Afghanistan, strengthening NATO, and supporting Ukraine.
As Biden slurs his way through the past, the far left, full stream ahead into the future, knocking the Democrat establishment off its feet in the process. So the big tent we've heard about, well, it's hard to really know if they're...
Beast mode. They're awesome. They're wonderful. They're telegenic. They're charismatic. They got bold ideas. They look good. That matters a little bit, I think. They're young.
Winning the hearts and minds, the DSA. Are they winning the hearts and minds of Democrats? It's hard to know. Just know they're running against this.
I request 30 more seconds because I rise before you adorning these
gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Not for personal tension, but to encourage you to take this
Gentlemen,
seriously.
for every American
I'm going to give you more time.
I think we got to stop making fun of Haley Stevens' lack of riz. I don't know. Now that the Republicans are doing it, it's just like annoying me a little bit. I feel dirty. I appreciate Haley Stevens. I really do. I'm not being insincere. I'm not being coy. I mean it seriously. I actually like the way she speaks. I do. It's important for you guys to understand that I like the lack of charisma. I think it's cute. It's probably the only redeemable quality of Haley Stevens.
What gives?
Okay? That's it. What I don't like about Haley Stevens is not how she says things, but what she says. Like,
Israel comes to me in my dreams.
that is what I don't like about Haley Stevens, is the policies, is the fact that she is a corporate stooge, is the fact that she is an assassin for AIPAC. That's what I don't like. I just want to let my position be known.
I am going to be working on our behalf. I am going to be telling the stories on our behalf. And you better believe I'm going to be doing it with a little bit of joy, a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of energy, and a little bit of stick it to them. Because that's the Michigan way.
That is Democratic establishment candidate Haley Stevens, who's running against
Just say you don't like women in power. Shut up.
socialist candidate Abdul El Sayed for Senate in Michigan. Somebody clever.
That's the Michigan way. Ah! Oh, God.
On X said, the Democrats said we need new voices. And here's Haley Stevens to offer you a 1930s baseball manager. But can't we
Oh, shut the fuck up, Will Kane. You don't get to make fun of Haley Stevens. Only we get to make fun of Haley Stevens. Fuck you. Will, by the way, this also still goes along with the headcanon here that Will Kane is secretly a DSA soldier. Will Kane is secretly a DSA soldier, a DSA Fedayeen. He is a Chapo-style dirtbag leftist. A Hasanabi head. Number one op had an opinion on this. Yeah, this was really funny. I will tell the story once again. We ran a project with working class women in 2019, 2020 near Scranton, Pennsylvania. These women related to Trump and Biden. They genuinely didn't understand the language of other Dems running for president. Oligarchs, anyone? Question mark. They thought Dems sounded like elites who looked down on them. The folks that scoff at this video tell on themselves that they are in elite bubbles. I love this because Neera Tanden is literally in an elite bubble, right? This is a Clinton acolyte. But it's so funny because there's two different schools of thought on this. And the DC tunnel vision is all these fucking dumb hick yokels don't understand big concepts like oligarchy. Okay. And that's what she's saying. She's saying that the average American is too fucking stupid, too much of a hick, too much of a yokel to understand complex subject matter like elites that dominate society. Okay. You're the fucking asshole, simply put. That's it. And it also, it's like adjusting 2019 to 2020 Scranton, Pennsylvania voters to 2026 Michigan primary voters is idiotic regardless, okay? Michigan is not Pennsylvania. And it's not 2020 and 2019 any longer. It's 2026. But once again, these guys are operating on old mentalities, and that gives us an opportunity to win. Okay? Yes, if you're operating with 2019 mentality in 2026, you're probably going to lose, even if you spend a shit ton of money on these races, even if Israel spends a shit ton of money on these races. So yeah, to Neera Tanden, I say,
What gives?
say it's something we've seen before?
You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank.
I don't understand what the problem is with this one. Like, I don't like Kamala for other reasons, but like, what? This doesn't even. Like, you could have used a better version of Kamala flubbing because she used to do that all the time. This is not one of those moments, ironically enough.
A union member for vacation time.
All right, listen, okay, listen.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy.
What is the argument? Like, what are they? Wait, they just like fundamentally misunderstand the Haley Stevens situation. Haley Stevens is not code switching. You just used examples of prominent female Democratic politicians that are code switching, okay? To talk about Haley Stevens, who ironically doesn't code switch, And that's kind of the reason why everyone is fascinated by the way she's communicating, where she's always like this. Like that's the... And it's not just women who code switch, men do it too. So I don't know why that's relevant in this conversation. But but perhaps Haley Stevens could be more effective as a communicator if she did code switch instead of doing this.
Israel comes to me in my dreams. What gives? What gives?
Haley Stevens doesn't even take the gold for changing accents in front of her audience.
Yeah, Haley Stevens invented her own thing. She's going her own way on this. And for that reason, I respect her. Okay. She's going her own way on the accent. And I think it's cool. Have you ever heard someone say Vladimir Putin? I haven't. And it's fucking dope. Vladimir Putin. Trump's biggest donor. Matty Maroon. They're claiming her stick it to him clip is her doing a fake black voice, but I don't think anyone else has ever sounded like that.
And not least among Democrats. But the problem, for Democrats isn't how they're speaking. It's what they're speaking about. That's the problem.
Legitimately, when the campaign consultants told me, hey, we're going to hit this line because Kamala Harris came out in favor of taxpayer-funded sex changes for illegal aliens. And I remember thinking to myself, come on, you guys. Like, she didn't really say that. It's taken out of context. And then I go and look at it, and I'm like, holy she actually said that. And she really was like the very worst version of what the Democrats were producing in 2020. The thing is, they were all doing it because that was the incentives of the party.
None of that would be relevant at the national level if the Democrats had a comprehensive economic agenda that people were responsive to, people were actually excited for. Okay? You want to know the craziest part of the Kamala Harris story? That was an ACLU questionnaire, right? Kamala Harris is being asked about this. She says yes. You want to know which other administrations have also signed off on this radical policy of doing gender-affirming surgery in immigrant detention centers to undocumented migrants if they go through a medical process? Donald Trump. That's right, Donald Trump, because it was just official American government policy, because gender confirmation surgery, gender affirmative surgeries are oftentimes life-saving measures. So if you're a prisoner, doesn't matter if you're a trans prisoner or if you're a prisoner in general, yes, the state has an obligation to help you. Okay? The state has an obligation to take care of your medical necessities, your medical needs. Just because you don't think that that's a medically necessary surgery doesn't change that reality. As long as doctors believe it to be the case, then of course the government is going to be like, no, we're going to fucking torture you because you're in prison. That's it. That's the truth of the matter. And it's an utterly irrelevant thing. And I know it's an utterly irrelevant thing. It's obviously very relevant if you're trans, but it's an utterly irrelevant thing for most governments because the Trump administration was doing it too. Okay? It only becomes a cudgel. It only becomes a wedge. It only becomes an important salient point to attack the Democrats if the Democrats don't have anything. If you are not defined by your own policy platform, then your enemies will define you in the worst ways they possibly can. That's it. That's it. It's that simple. It's not that complicated. I'm sorry, I'm uninformed. How is sex change surgery life-saving? Transgender people have a super high rate of suicide. And gender-affirming surgery, according to doctors, is seen as the most effective way to engage in suicide prevention. There are a quintillion studies that were conducted on this matter. That's why. That's why it's seen as a life-saving measure. Now, I'm no big city lawyer, and I'm not a doctor. I have a doctorate in racism, a doctorate in jihad, and a PhD in racism. That's totally separate from this conversation. I don't have the necessary medical background to understand. But at least I'm smart enough to look at the studies and recognize that this is the consensus in the medical profession, regardless of how even the New York Times and numerous other outlets and numerous other anti-trans movements have tried to present this as not the consensus in the medical field. Racism is so funny. XD lol. Yes, dude. Yes. That's what the goal. That's what I mean when I say I have a PhD in racism and a doctorate in jihad. That's what that is. I'm saying racism funny lol, not that I cover racists and racist movements and racism, and I'm jokingly referring to that by saying I have a PhD in racism. Bro thinks it's woke one. Yeah, no, literally. Bro thought jokes would fly.
There's no fake accent that can make that policy popular. Joining.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
The workers deserve more.
Dude, this is crazy. They're doing all around coverage on this shit. By the way, I mean, a big chunk of my community is already dues paying members in the Democratic Socialists of America, but this is part of the reason why you guys have to remind yourselves that everything that you're communicating is being watched and will be mass blasted and mass disseminated, which is why caucus drama can turn into a real national story, and it's not a good thing, right? We got to avoid that. We got to avoid that sort of stuff, especially now more than ever before. Because if you remember, one of the biggest hits that DSA ever took was the whole, was it at the convention where, they were doing the snaps and the, calling on privilege and demanding no one clap because of, audio sensory issues, stuff like that. Point of privilege drama at the 2019 Atlanta convention. Yes. It's good to want to make sure that everyone is taken care of. But, moments like that can be highlighted and milked by outsiders. Who's we, Mr. Unaffiliated? True. I mean, I'm not a part of. Yeah, we got to be strong. Optically, we must be strong. We must be disciplined. We must exercise messaging discipline at all points. I'm just saying we as a random guy on the outside looking in. Okay, from the outside. Yeah. The American government is not the only one that practices strategic ambiguity.
That's the new radical agenda talking point from the DSA, calling for a complete overhaul of the U.S. government. Well, it's pushing extreme policies such as abolishing the U.S. Senate, amnesty for all immigrants, no matter how they get here, deportations, and more. Reparations and more. Do away with one, keep the other. And they're suggesting replacing the presidency and the U.S. Supreme Court.
We could call it the head honcho of whatever, it's like we might not have a president, but what we should have is an executive that's actually chosen democratically and is accountable to the representatives of the people.
Here we say very clearly, abolish ICE.
We have a feminism section that is trans-liberatory and also socialist feminist.
I think it sounds so radical, abolish the Senate, abolish the Supreme Court, et cetera, but it's not.
Why do we have a Senate? A lot of people are going to see that and they'll be like, wait a second, why do I have a Senate? What's so great about the Senate?
Okay, I feel dumber having watched that. It comes on the heels of far.
Look at these women, these nasty women talking about abolishing the Senate.
Left insurgents winning key races, many of them backed by the Democrat Socialists of America, DSA. So far, at least 27 candidates nationwide. House Speaker Mike Johnson here.
This is not a game. Everybody needs to understand these crazy little mini Mamdanis who are popping up all around the country. They are a danger to you and your family. This is not a game. If they
it's devastating. These mini Mamdanis, dude. Let 1,000 Zorons bloom, baby. I told you when I said what I said at the New York City DSA Slate rally, when I said by the time we're done with this, we are going to make Zoran Kwame Mamdani seem unremarkable. This is what I meant. And we're getting there slowly but surely, and we're going to keep pushing, okay?
promise you free stuff, there is far more beneath those promises that even some of these people do not understand.
Yeah, step 1, free stuff. Step 2, death. Death and destruction.
Themselves.
Power panel now. Luke Ball, Republican strategist. Megan Hayes, former Biden White House director of messaging.
So many former Biden people. I mean, I wonder what she's going to say. Sometimes they are defensive of the defensive of DSA. So I'm gonna hold out on my judgment here. But so far, a lot of the former Biden people are unbelievably hostile to DSA.
Planning. So, Luke, a feminism section so that men who identify as women can feel what? More like they are part of women's issues?
Harris, this is not a policy platform that the Democratic Socialists have given us. This is the abolition of America. It's the roadmap to getting rid of the United States as we know it. And I have maintained this position for a while. I feel like the Democrats are about too...
This is the abolition of America. Oh, yeah, this was funny. I tuned into Joe Rogan yesterday and I heard Bernie Sanders' economics, Barack Obama's foreign policy, and Ro Khanna's conspiracy theories. And then I realized J.D. Vance was talking. I want a candidate in 2028 who doesn't mirror the Democrats and who can win. Mr. VP, this is not the way.
elections away from strapping Karl Marx to a defibrillator, waking him up and running him at the top of the ballot. And the moderates, the centrists, the legacy Democrats have by and large been nowhere to be found. Listen, Harris, to these two juxtaposed policy positions and tell me which one's going to win out. Because the Democrat socialists want, as you just listed, extending voting rights to criminals, illegals, abolishing the Senate, eliminating SCOTUS, eliminating the presidency. But Hakeem Jeffries' response to these DSA members winning elections in his party's primary is the path is different, but the work is the same. Which one of those do you think is going to win out? I would submit, lastly, that the Democrat Party's conscience has been seared. They are numb to this, and they have allowed this weed to fester in their garden.
Megan, can you turn it around?
I sure hope so, but I would like to say that Democrat Socialists of America are not Democrats. Democrats believe deeply in capitalism. They believe deeply in the Constitution. They believe deeply in our
let me stop you right there, because I've heard you say this before. And
Jesus Christ, dude.
And I mean, Constitution.
They
let's run it back.
And they've allowed this weed to fester in their garden.
Megan, can you turn it around?
I sure hope so, but I would like to say that Democrat Socialists of America are not Democrats. Democrats.
Oh, great panel. Thank you. Great panel. Just two people that both hate the platform that you're talking about. One Republican, one Democrat. Nice. That's cool. Boomer Coco Melon at work. Yeah, it's awesome.
Believe deeply in capitalism. They believe deeply in the Constitution. They believe deeply in our
let me stop you right there, because I've heard you say this before, and I mean, I believe that you believe that. Absolutely. The problem with that is that your party is giving them money and resources to run as Democrats. They don't say anything else on those ballots in the primary. They won't say anything else on the ballots in the midterm elections. They're not going to say we're actually socialists. They say they are Democrat socialists.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem that the party needs to address. And I have, on this program, asked leadership why they are doing that. But I will say these are not districts, or these are not people who are going to win the Senate or the House majority. These are people in blue states getting bluer, which people can argue that's a problem. But actually, that's not what's going to take back the majority for the Democrats.
This was her on CNN.
Republicans.
Oh, this is Caitlin Legat. No, it's Megan Hayes. This is the one that was shitting on Abdul and claiming that Abdul was just like Plattner or some shit. All right, hold on. Can you get it? Can you go outside and get it? I don't think they can find it.
These are moderates that are winning in their communities, that are putting up candidates that are actual moderate Democrats that believe in the democratic values.
So you're not concerned?
I mean, of course, I am always concerned, but I am concerned that we're making a lot out of very few candidates. There have been like 4 or 5 of them that have won in the last
Did you see the scroll? There are 27 names on that.
There's 27 out of 435 members of the House. That is a very small percentage that they have not won into their general elections yet, and may not win in their general elections. This is an anti-incumbent.
Yeah, they're gonna lose in fucking. Chris Rabb is gonna lose in Philadelphia. Actually, bro, that's crazy. These people just take checks from these networks, say whatever they're asked to say, the majority of which doesn't happen, i.e. your subpoena. I know it's good content for you as a streamer, but I think it's doing more damage than helping in some cases. Buddy, the first part of that is not wrong. The second part of that couldn't be more wrong, okay? These people say these things, but people listen, okay? People listen.
That Democrats.
Oh, this is from April 14th. Associated with Sondpiker isn't how Democrats win young voters. It's how you alienate everyone else.
Need to realize that these are not the kind of people you want to platform and be a part of. I mean, he's an anti-American, anti-Semitic, misogynist. That the tent doesn't need to be that big in the Democratic Party, and I wish people would stop platforming him. But I also think Democrats and Republicans here need to realize that
I'm platforming people. I'm platforming people. Not the other. You're getting it wrong. I hate that they snapped me while I was fucking switching my goddamn Zin. And they use that photo all the time. I mean, look, I get why consultants hate me. Because I do their job and I do it better than they do. And I do it for free. And not only do I do it for free, actually, I literally also pay. Like I fundraise for the candidates. So yeah, of course, I'm a significant threat to some of these staffers. Not only are they ideologically opposed to me, but I'm also doing something that they will never be able to do. So it's a real threat to their job security as well. So I get it. You look like you're pouting. I'm so sorry. I am pouting. I'm pouting because I'm hearing her dumbass takes.
engaging with youth voters is not going through podcasts that are hateful and are going to drive division between the party. You have to talk about things they care about, and that's the economy. And so the sooner that Democrats realize that, the sooner they will get youth turnout to be more on their side. I think that Democrats need to realize that these are not the kind of people you want to platform and be a part of. I mean,
Yeah, Democrats will get the youth turnout if they just take a stance that agrees with my position on Israel. Which Kamala did and lost over.
the election cycle, the Republicans are facing the same thing. You lost two moderate Republicans. Now
the Republicans are not facing the same thing. The Republicans are not facing socialism. That is not what's happening.
What?
Although I will add.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the same thing. It's far worse. It's called fascism, and it's here, and you're a champion of it. And yes, given the option between fascism and socialism, people will, of course, choose socialism.
To your point, there are more far left versus establishment Democrat matchups to watch for because the list is getting longer. Arizona's primary is this Tuesday. Missouri, Michigan, and Florida are early August. 3 races in California.
Yeah. Kai Newkirk is fucking dope, and he can actually win, by the way. I'm very excited about that. If you're in Arizona, you better be fucking smiling and dialing for Kai. Straight up.
California will pit incumbents against progressives on midterm election day. Luke.
I would say that I feel too many Democrats are in denial of the party's evolution. They're not mourning the loss of their party. They seem to be looking the other way. And I also have heard the argument that these are not Democrat candidates. But to your point, Harris, they have a D beside their name.
Yes.
They're using Democrat resources. The moderates have accepted them into their big tent party. They have tolerated them. They've been afraid to speak out. Chuck Schumer's been terrified to say anything against AOC because she's going to primary him at some point. Folks have been terrified to say anything against Mamdani because he's the energy of the party. So if we can get past like the 5 stages of grief with the Democrats and start hearing them actually speak out against these members, we can have another conversation. But as it stands right now, there's a D beside.
What do you mean? The Democrats are doing that. The problem is the voters like the fucking socialists. It's awesome. I love seeing Fox News freak the fuck out over this shit.
Their name, and that's why we have to call this out. I'm tired of having to like critique the Democrat Party and try to point members in their own direction to say, let's go against this, let's join hands and fight the tide here. But it looks like we're the adults in the room that have to do that for the majority of Democrats.
So Megan Hayes is an adult in the room, and I know you know your history.
Dude. To sit there and agree on the fascist news network with the fascist commentariat that the real problem in America is not the fascist Trump administration, but the Democratic Socialists in your ranks that your voters are voting for, you're not part of the team. You're not. These people used to call you a communist basically 3 years ago when Joe Biden was president. You're a fucking idiot.
And what this is rooted in is what we already fought against and made a promise we weren't going to go there. People come from socialist nations to this one because it's the best. We fought people who were anti-Semitic because it was hateful and it was wrong. So who's going to stand up to those members of your party who are winning and who have aspirations beyond to just destroy the government?
That's a great question. I would like to think that the people, the moderates that are in Congress and in local offices now are standing up to these folks. And you see it in Michigan. The tides are definitely turning in Michigan. A new poll came out. Haley Stevens is 7 points ahead of Abdul Ayed. So I think that a lot of this is on the ground. The people are turning around, and the voters are going to have to be the ones that stand up. If the leadership isn't going to do anything and defund parties that are allowing these folks to run, then that means the voters are going to have to stand up, and voters are going to have to vote for their democratic values. And that's what I think that's going to happen in the midterms.
All right. Luke Paul, just last quick question. America needs its politics to be good, rich debates. Is that what we get when you get socialists?
Republicans actually get a unique opportunity here to defend their conservative policies, to point out the ridiculousness and the end goal of socialism. So as I hope Democrats recognize the threat that socialism poses to their party, I hope Republicans.
Dude, these guys are our enemies, okay? Not only are the class enemies because they are obviously in defense of the capital-owning class, the corporations, the super wealthy, but they're also politically, like simply put, political enemies, right? So when you have your political enemy explain to you what you must do, you discard that opinion. Or better yet, you do the exact opposite of what they're telling you because they don't want you to fucking win. That guy doesn't want Democrats to win. So why the fuck would you ever take his advice? What are you, stupid? And the answer for many of these people in the establishment Democrat camp is yes. The answer to that question is yes.
Republicans recognize the opportunity that we have to beat back these horrible policies and make sure that we stand firm on our convictions.
Luke and Megan, great to have you. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Well, speaking of vampires, the Democratic Socialists of America are sucking the blood out of the body politic, officially launching their new platform. And it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet of the dumbest ideas ever presented by the far left. They want to abolish the Senate, get rid of the presidency and the Supreme Court, and replace them with an executive and judiciary chosen by and subordinate to Congress. Yeah, screw you, Constitution. Plus, they want to give amnesty to all illegals and defund the Department of War, of course. Just listen to their socialist sales pitch.
Whenever people are like, oh my God, they want to get rid of the president, I was like, well, I don't know what we would call it in the future. We could call it the head honcho of whatever, you know? We have a feminism section that is trans liberatory and also socialist feminist.
Everybody sees that, like, that Trump is super evil. I mean, every president since the founding of the country has been super evil, but somehow we have like one that is even more evil.
Good one. Wow. What a brain trust. But Nancy Pelosi, she's trying to bust up the commies by calling for a little less revolution and a little more party discipline. Watch.
You can't make fun of their mannerisms and then do that. Like, you can't be like, oh, look at these like dumb broads and then also do what you're doing right now.
I wasn't happy about people saying, let's spend a whole lot of money challenging Democrats. There are elements, exuberances in the party now that should be heard and the rest. But when we have that vote, the first couple of days of January, we will all, not me, because I won't be there, they will all be voting for Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker. You run anytime you want and do whatever you want to do.
It's crazy that Nancy's my fucking girl right now. Obviously, she's riding for Connie Chen, and Connie Chen is the far preferable candidate to Scott Wiener. It's not even a question. I'm riding with Nancy Pelosi, and I'm riding with Connie Chen in San Francisco. The Queen has spoken.
But don't expect that to be welcome when we've got to stay completely focused on saving the Constitution, but more importantly, helping people at the kitchen table in a way that should be universal in terms of our purpose.
Oh, yes, they've got some universal ideas. They universally want to scrap the Constitution and destroy the country. So a lot of people in your party are calling for a big tent to welcome these people inside. They really hate America.
Not those ones. Those ones aren't good. They are perfect online fodder. They have very little applicability in the real world. Of all the policies, and they're the only one that I think you could have a grown-up conversation about is Medicare
Oh my God.
for all. But otherwise, it's all totally crazy. And I think that we are in a little bit of a crisis of Twitter is not real life and the online world is not real life when you look at how people are actually voting. And they're winning in these very blue seats. And then we're electing great moderate Democrats in swing seats where we need to win, like Kate Conley or Bobby Polito. And it was interesting. There was a new poll out for the Michigan Senate primary with Abdul Al-Sayed, who actually, by the way, isn't a DSA candidate. He identifies
further left.
or a doctor, a physician. But it was interesting because, you know, everyone is dunking on Haley Stevens because of that clip that went viral, and she's up 7 in this poll. And with no college voters with no college degrees, she's up 22. With black voters, and 15% of Michigan is black people, she's up 46. And I'll say ahead with college-educated white people.
Of course,
again.
it's always the college
patterns.
whites.
But who is going to?
Say
it
it
is the
again.
college. I am the college
Can't
whites.
stand 'em.
I'm done. Anyway, Twitter is not real life.
Jesse,
Yeah.
what they're calling for is absolutely.
I hate to see my queen fall out of favor like this. But yes, Jessica Tarkov is one of those kinds of Democrats. I guess it kind of makes sense. If you've spent your entire career being around these fucking demons, you got to be at least on some level very conservative or a little comfortable with conservatism. Hurts my feelings to see her, a queen of this community, say such hurtful things about democratic socialism.
Insane. And I don't agree that these are fringe candidates. I see what they're doing in New York. I see Zoran Mamdani. I see what they're doing in LA. They've got two commies running for mayor of Los Angeles. They will have the two largest cities in America. This is not fringe. And also, this is not a Trojan horse. They are telling you exactly what they want to do. And they're so dumb, they can't even come up with replacement terms. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they're like, well, we want to abolish the Senate. And the Democrats in the Senate are like, they have some good ideas.
Yeah.
They just ran on saving democracy. And these people are like, we're going to take away your right to vote for president.
Wait, what? Abolishing the Senate, unironically, is closer to a more honest, equitable, and just democratic process. What the fuck? Also, none of the fucking DSA candidates are running on abolish the Senate. I hate that these guys are literally like, they look at, goals in the future as like something that these people want to do immediately tomorrow. It's so fucking annoying. Like, that's not how this works. That's not how anything works. Yeah. Meanwhile, from the people that brought to you, cows should be able to fucking vote, comes, they want to abolish the Senate.
What? I like primaries and conventions and debates and campaigning. I don't want to give my right to vote to Congress. Congress has a 9% approval rating. If we abolish anything, let's abolish Congress. Then they said they want to
There's no... Wait, what? What? What do you think the Senate is a part of, my man? There's no way he's that fucking stupid, right? Like, I think he was just real horny to come out with a joke and he just didn't realize how stupid that sounded. Jesus Christ, dude. The top minds over here at Fox News in the realm of commentary. I mean, this is riveting. Brother said, abolish the Senate. How about abolish the Senate and the House of Representatives? Abolish the Senate is far too far-fetched. We should abolish both chambers. Turns out he's far more radical. This is the average American father? No, I know. What is this? Hey, Hassan the Hun, you're next. Neville Roy Singham, the wealthy husband of the founder of the progressive non-profit Code Pink and benefactor of far-left political causes, under criminal investigation by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York, according to multiple sources with knowledge of the matter. Hassan the Hun, you're next. For what? I'm an American citizen. I'm an American taxpayer. I live in the United States of America. I work with American political candidates. Like, what do you mean you're next? You can't even like tie me to any foreign activity in any way, shape, or form. It's so fucking dumb. It literally turns into, I just don't like what you have to say, so you should go to prison. And in Laura's case, it's more so, I don't like what you have to say about the way I look like Jigsaw from the Saw series and also about Israel. So you should go to prison in America. Incredible stuff.
Defend the Defense Department. So defund. So no Air Force, no Navy, no Marines,
no police.
no
police.
Right. I have a feeling Mexico is going to try to take some land back, Jessica. I have a feeling the Brits might want to come and take back some land. We've made some enemies.
The French might roll up.
French might roll. I mean, we could probably beat the Canadians without a military, but that's fine.
Are you nervous about
Vikings
getting your
from Greenland.
testosterone shot?
Yeah, I don't think
if
I
we
need
defund
that.
the, I don't know. Pete says at your age you might need a T shot.
I've never had any trouble in that department, Jessica, and you've said that in the commercial break.
Just ask HR.
That is worse than hit him in the A. I have never said that.
Also, how about no borders, no ICE, no deportations? So someone can break into the country, rape us, go to jail. Oh, actually, no, there is no jail because
A
there's
social
no
worker will talk them down.
That's right. So it sounds like they just want us all dead. Do I have that right, Jessica? And Medicare for all, Green New Deal, and freezing rent. So they're going to take away your vote. They're going to take away your gas grill. They're going to take away your doctor. They're going to take away your police and your military. But they're for a 4-day work week.
No, they're not for work.
I'm sorry. If you're Jesse Waters, you should legally not be allowed to criticize a 4-day work week when the total amount of work that you put in during your unironically 4-day work week, by the way, is not even one full day of work for the average worker. You fucking dipshit. You film 4 days a week for 2 hours a day.
Work is only if you have a few little bills. Unfortunately, I had to sit through most of this. I remember when spinsters just had a book club. You know, like the lonely ladies who can't get a date, they just got together with their cats and they talked about cool books. Now they want to take over the world.
Right.
I mean, this is just, and here's the deal. It's not very, I'm going to agree with Jessica on this. This is not very popular. Did you see the amount of likes and hearts they were getting during the thing? It was like they were hitting it for each other. It was like 2 or 3. There was no love in that thing. But this is
what
you do have to take it seriously. But
why is the panel a date rapist and walking CTE, neither of which have ever worked a real day in their fucking lives in the last decade? Everyone would make fun of this guy's backwards hat and tattoos if he was a leftist. I mean, I think everyone should make fun of that regardless of his political ideology. Wait, shit.
at some point, the Democrats have to say, hey, you're not with us. You're communists. Form your own thing. Get out of our tent. Because they're going to, if I'm voting and I'm like, I'm an independent and I'm going to vote for the Conservative Party or a Democratic Party, and that's the speech I hear? Like, if you're a Republican, you start funding them.
I think there's something very funny about a guy who's never going to vote for the Democrat being like, oh, this is a bridge too far. Oh, the mask is off now. Y'all done did it now. Dog, you're never voting for a Democrat. Why the fuck is this a matter of importance to you? That's why Jessica Tarkov sitting there and being like, you're right. You guys are right. These guys suck is fucking annoying. They're not Democrats. They're never going to vote for the Democratic Party. Their job is to lie about the Democratic Party And you're sitting there agreeing with these fucking demons, Jessica. Meanwhile, those demons don't want the Democrats to win. And you know who is a Democrat? The people who voted for those socialists. The New York one is a closed primary. These are lifelong Democrats that are a part of the party.
Help them get better backgrounds. Like, jazz up that depressing backdrop that they were all in. One of them didn't even have the lights on, and we're seeing the reflection of her lonely life in their glasses. And they just went on. And they even said, I think Bernie Sanders is the most popular one because he ran for president. Like, that's who we have to work. Like, if I'm a Republican strategist, I'm like, that's it. Like, get them on the debate stand.
Right.
So who put this out? Was it Democrats? I mean, it almost seems like it benefits them more
the DSA.
than...
It's an organizing call for organizers that are not media personalities. They're not media professionals. They're just members of the Democratic Socialists of America. They're not politicians. The only person on there that is a media personality is Emma Vigeland, which suspiciously they didn't mention any of her clips for some reason. Like, who gives a shit?
And I'm actually a little surprised because it was so ham-handed, and they've been a little bit more politically sophisticated. It's sort of like when Mamdani did the 4th of July speech, and I thought, like, he's usually better than that. And so maybe they have, I don't know, lost a step. But I do think it's worth taking very seriously, and the Democrats should thank Fox for talking about this story. Because if they don't, it'll just continue to eat away. And if we make fun of them, then that protects them from having to do so.
Yes.
And if we point out the trade-offs, then the Democrats can be like, yeah, what they said. And they don't have to do it. Like Chuck Schumer is like, I'm not going to weigh in on the main race. I'm just going to sit here and not do that. The other thing is they say it's for the workers. Jessica just pointed out.
Uniparty, baby. You see that? Uniparty. Straight up. This is why they keep winning, by the way. This is why we keep winning. Okay? Yeah. Who gives a fuck about, quote unquote, helping the Democratic Party? We care about changes. These people want you to live in a world where you will never retire. Okay?
40% of minority communities in Michigan want Haley Stevens, not El Sayed. So, and that happened again here in New York, and it happened in Colorado. So.
47% of minority voters want Haley Stevens. Is already a bunk poll regardless, but it's really funny that a fucking Republican is saying that. Okay, if only black people were allowed to vote in this country, there is not a single state in the entire nation that would go to the Republicans. You're a Republican. Your entire political project revolves around trying to stop black people from voting. Like, who are they speaking to? Who are they talking to? This is literally like a fucking Klans rally being like, you know, them blacks, they know who to vote for. They're voting for the right one. And not the wrong one, that's Muslim man. Now, of course, if you ask me, obviously they shouldn't vote at all, but if they're gonna vote, they should vote for the white woman. The fuck? What are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
So the white liberals are the ones that are propping them up. But also, when they say they're for the workers, let's be clear about that. The candidates that we know about so far, they lied on their resume, i.e. oyster farmer or doctor.
Or non-raper.
Some of them.
Dog, what are you saying? The motherfucker's a doctor, bro. He is a doctor. What are you saying? Wait, what the fuck? God damn, I hate these people so much. They just live in an alternative universe and they're so smug about it too.
Have never had a job. They've been in college their entire time, but they're for the Workers' Party, and that is why it has very little to do with economic socialism.
Abdullah Sayed was in charge of fucking Detroit Public Health. What are you talking about?
It has everything to do with anarchy. And I would also say that when they talk about packing the court or getting rid of the Supreme Court, there's a direct thread to be made to that and the threats against the Supreme Court justices that have been happening, because it dehumanizes these people, and you can't respect what the Supreme Court says because you disagree with it unless they go your way, and then you think it's great, and then you don't want to pack it. So I think that there's a moment for a Democrat to have a Sister Souljah moment here, but if they don't want to take it, we'll just keep doing it for them.
Well, if they're
Yeah, peak relevant commentary. The Sister Souljah moment. Yeah, that's all you need to know. These guys are still talking about the 90s, man. Like, they're demanding Democrats disavow democratic socialists, people like myself. And if any of them are stupid enough to do so, by the way, if any of them, especially right now when it's a change election and people are hungry for a change candidate, good luck. Good luck winning anything from that point onward. You'll unironically cook yourself for no fucking reason. It's just your inability to read the goddamn room is going to cause your own demise. Thankfully, Democrats haven't done that.
not going to grow a spine, they're going to lose their party. Like, it is going to fracture in two. And who does that benefit? Jesse Waters when he runs for president. Up.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube.
Again, very funny that they're talking about like the future of the Democratic Party.
But to our top story of the day, as the U.S. fights foreign threats like the Iranian
Oh
regime
my God.
abroad.
Oh my God. The entire Fox News rundown about socialism? What the fuck's happening? It's just one speed. My God, these people need to be put out of their misery, so they want to overthrow the government established by the Constitution. Meanwhile, not a peep about this from the family values and joys of Fox News. Ken Paxton bought 3 condos in a luxury resort in Utah earlier this year. On the deeds, he listed a home in Frisco as his address. Police reports we obtained refer to the home's owner as a woman who is not his wife, and Mr. Paxton... Dude, can I say something crazy? What is the dick market looking like in the fucking state of Texas, bro? Because I'm sorry, you can't be living through the dick drought that whole ass, grown ass, Texan ass adult women are like, damn, that chopped motherfucker Ken Paxton, I need to have him bust me down. I need to have him blow my fucking back walls out. Have you seen Ken Paxton? Does Texas have a top shortage? What the fuck's going on? Shit must be bleak. There's like 15 different fuck scandals about this guy. And he is ugly as sin. Texas is now officially the England of America. Okay, the only other country where I have seen politicians be outed as dogs when they literally look like shit is England. That's the only other time I've ever seen politicians that are so goddamn ugly get outed for having like constant sex with women that are not their wives. Boris Johnson, Keir Starmer, and now Ken Paxton. Funny accent. Ugly dudes get tremendous play. Is it Texas? Is it England? As a Texan, you are right, but I don't like it. I don't understand it. Mr. Paxton got an extension on his April federal candidate filing, so he did not disclose his purchases during his contentious primary with John Cornyn. A campaign spokesperson did not answer the questions about the new purchase or their links to the new Frisco home. Yeah, we got the El Side campaign. Don't worry, we're going to get to that in a second. Ugly people fuck better for reals. Okay. The Ossoff stuff is peak Hassan derangement syndrome. He's never been on the show or said anything about Hassan. He just didn't condemn him after Hassan listed him as a good 2028 candidate. Yeah, it turns out Mike Collins, who's running against John Ossoff, has been outed as having close ties to a white nationalist influencer who happens to be his son-in-law. Least surprising news story of all time. NBC and ABC refused to air Trump's primetime address. People are still talking about ugly people fuck better. In the chat saying that this is here, let's talk about anti-Semitism in the least expected places, okay? Hollywood. That's right. I want to issue a trigger warning real quick before we get started on this. This is going to be very troublesome, okay? You're going to hear, neo-Nazis are everywhere, all around us. And you might be thinking, oh, Patriot Prayer, Nick Fuentes. No, neo-Nazis are famously in Hollywood productions. That's right.